welcome to Romance Book Monsters. It's your girl Lollipop here with my co-host Kitty Boone.
Hi all.
We are here today to talk about the books we read in January. Welcome to February, month of love. There's always great books out there, especially in February. Get your books right. You know, some champagne, some chocolate-covered strawberries, a bubble bath. That's how we read in February around here. What about you?
Chocolates, yep.
Got to. So we're going to jump right in and talk about a few of the books we read in January. You know, there's so many books that came out in December, even through our December book haul, that I was not unable to read all the books in December. So in my January reads, there are several holiday romances. I don't know about you, Kitty, if you have anything that kind of was from December that you just couldn't quite get to, because there's so many good books out there, but I certainly did. So my first book is A Dream Spinner by Kristen Ashley. I love Kristen Ashley. I enjoyed this book mainly because I love HGTV, DIY. I love that she was, you know, wanting to get into the house flipping game. She didn't want to be a stripper forever. So, you know, her flipping her house, doing the work, getting all this stuff done. It just really appealed to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like the character. And, you know, the dirty cop thing, I'm definitely interested to see where that goes because I want to see who's in charge. But, you know, I know Kitty was not a huge enough fan of this book as I was. But hey, you know, anything that involves house flipping, you already got me from hello. So what about any responses to this particular book, or what's your next book, Kit?
I love Kristen Ashley too, and I was so excited that we were getting the second book in this series so soon after the first book. But, you know, oh my gosh. You know, I thought it was going to be like something along the lines of the Rock Chicks, and it was like way less action. I'm like, okay, somebody's after her, so she's in hiding. And in the majority of the book, like nothing happens. She's just like holed up in this man's apartment like the entire time. And she supposedly has like this big family issue, and she does, but you hear a little bit about at the beginning, and then like it wraps itself up at the end. And there's like again nothing in between. She's just kind of like chilling at the dude's house. Although she does leave to go and work on her house that she's flipping, but I mean
she also did leave to work on her dances for the review. That was another change too. Smithy changed
the car chases. Where were the attacks? Where was, you know, people trying to kill people? Like nothing.
I mean,
that was my issue.
It can't be murder, death, kill all the time. I mean,
it can't be all the time, but if the book is like, oh, somebody is after me because they think I'm the girlfriend of this cop killer who's a gangster, you know, I expect a little bit more action.
Let me tell you, I loved that his name was cleared. I am ready. I am tempted. I wonder if he gonna get a book. He gonna get a book, Tamika.
I wonder too, yeah.
He gonna get a book. She wouldn't have gone through all the trouble clearing his name if he ain't gonna get a book.
Well, I mean, she made him sound so exciting in the first book that, you know, you kind of had to clear him.
True, because I was ready. I was like, who we gonna end up with? Obviously, he's not ending up with any of the chicks the Commandos is gonna end up with, but he gonna end up with somebody related to one of the chicks, probably.
It's kind of like you see like a second line coming, like the MC book was like a second part after they finished like the Commandos.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening for sure. So what was your first book, Kitty?
My first book was The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It was like a young adult romance. So that was an interesting like little break because I don't read a whole lot of young adult books, but this one was really good. So it was like young adult sports because he is a hockey player. Yeah, he's like this big time hockey player. And so the girl's name is Hannah and the guy's name is Garrett. So he has his eye on going to the NHL, and he's like the big man on campus. Like the school is like a big hockey school. And they're both taking this philosophy class. And he's actually, even though he's like a jock, they don't like go with the stereotypical like dumb jock. Like he's really smart, makes really good grades on his own, and like nobody's like passing him just because he's good at sports. So he flunks this philosophy test, which is like, 40% of his grade. The majority of the class flunks it. And Hannah, the main girl character in the book, she gets an A- on the paper. And while he's thinking that everybody is flunked, like they pass each other, and she drops her notebook, and he's like, "You got an A? You must help me." She's like, "I don't have time to help you, and I have no desire to help you." And he's like so used to like girls like falling all over him, like he's shocked. She's like a music major singer, and he's like the jock guy. So they're completely different, crowds. But they don't know it yet, but they kind of like share like an abusive past. Like his father abused him and his mother, and she was like raped at a party when she was like 15 in high school. And it was like really sad because she's raped by the mayor's son. So they cover it up in her small town. Like he gets off, and then the parents turn around and sue her parents for harassment, and they win. And so like the parents who were once doing well financially, now they're like poor because the mother's a teacher. She can't teach in the district anymore. So she ends up having to like work at a grocery store.
Right.
They're like mortgaged to the hill to pay for the lawyer fees because they end up having to pay the lawyer fees for the mayor's kid. It was just a horrible situation. She can't go home without being like harassed. So they have to meet at a relative's house, like in another city. It was really like sad.
That's terrible. And it happens too. And the only reason they won was because it was the mayor and his son.
Right. She's not really like, she's having trouble like being like turned on by guys like since that, but she gets a crush on a basketball player, but he doesn't pay any attention to her. So the hockey player, he tries to bribe her with everything in order to get her to tutor him for the next exam, because they now get to redo the paper since the majority of the class flunked and they all complained to the dean. So he sees that she likes the guys, and she was like, "You know what? If he thinks that you're taken, then he'll want you. So I'll pretend that I'm your boyfriend and get you all the attention from everybody. And then that way he'll want to date you." So she goes for it. And they kind of pretend like they're dating. And, one thing leads to another, and they're really dating. So it was a really good story, like overall.
Okay. Sounds interesting. For sure.
And then his dad like wants him so focused on football, he actually bribes her to break up with him.
Tries to?
After he succeeded, but only for like a month or so. He like told him like, "I'm gonna cut him off financially if you don't break up with him, and he's not gonna be able to play football because he's gonna have to get a job to complete school." And like, the dad was a big
hockey.
Hockey, yes.
Okay, because you said football a couple of times. I like football.
I'm probably so used to like football being like the sport in these books. Hockey was a bit of a change.
We've done 2 hockey stories already since October.
We have, yes, we've done 2 hockey stories, but normally they're the quarterback.
It's true, especially in these young adult ones. It's always football. You're right. All right, so my second book was a holdover from my December book called Grown and Sexy for Christmas, a sweet to steamy holiday romance, by Janice Dixon. I really liked this book. It's about a girl. Okay, so see, this is what happened. So she was out wanting to have a good time. She met a guy at a party, one night stand. He was a terrible lay. Go to work on Monday. It's her new boss. And he looking at her suggestively, and she looking like, how could this terrible lay get any more terrible? He's now her boss. So he's basically been pigeonholing her into an assistant role for the last 3 years. Talking about, oh, maybe you'll go up for that next writing job, you want to go out for a drink. She's like, no. So she's answering his emails because he is her boss or whatever. And she sees the email coming in about, setting up for interviews for this job, the writing job. And so she confronts him and was like, you told me I would be up for the next job, but you didn't even tell me about it. He's like, oh, I don't think you're ready. So now she's upset. She calls her best friend and she's like, you know what? He about to be out of town anyway. Let's go to New York for the month of December. So they go to New York and having the time. She meet this dude. She thought he was like, they're staying at this hotel, this gorgeous hotel. And she meets this guy and she's thinking he's like a manager at the hotel or whatever. Turns out he the owner. Anyway, they having a great time. Sex is great. All those things fabulous. But, she's ready to go back now. So she ends up using the time writing a short summary script to pitch for this job, which he encouraged her to do. And then when she was going to do it, he got mad. Talk about, if you leave New York, we're through. And foolishness like that. Anyway, she leaves and goes to pursue her dream. She was like, how is it fair that you can have your dream of turning your family hotel into this, to the next level, and I can't fulfill my dreams, or our relationship is over. So anyway, push comes to shove, she goes back. The guy tries to, basically he was a jerk and he caused her not to get the role, but there was another director in there who owns their own production company who spoke to her afterwards and offered her a job. And she handed in her letter of resignation from there, and then she went to go get her man, I guess. But he also realized he was a douche, and it was not fair what he did. Basically, his secretary, who he inherited from his dad, told him about himself. That's what happened. So happily ever after, there was even her best friend that came with her. She has a side story. She has her own book in there as well. So that's on my list to read, is the best friend's book, because she also ended up with another billionaire. I was like, I want to go to a hotel in New York and meet a billionaire. I've stayed at hotels in New York.
Right?
No billionaires. It ain't right. But I love the book. It was a great book. It was a great friends girl trip, Christmas time, New York City. They did all the sights and the shopping and all of that. I really enjoyed it. So what about you, Kitty?
It's on my list to read. I keep forgetting the name every time I forget to ask you what it is.
It was a good book. I already downloaded the friend story, so it's just to get around to reading it. I have so many books to read.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out next.
I'm gonna have to check out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I just got that Christine Feehan book this morning, so it's about to go down. Reckless Road, here I come.
Oh, I know, me too. I'm so waiting for the next book. I need to go back and read the previous book over again, though.
It was so good. Okay, so what about you? What is your next book?
So my next book is Room Service by Rochelle Allers. It's the third book in the Innkeeper series. It was like rediscovering an old author. Like, I used to be like a Rochelle Allers like junkie, but you kind of know, like, after you've read like a series for a long time and then you kind of take a break to read other stuff and you discover other authors, you kind of forget about them. And this just like popped up in my timeline where I was like, ooh, I haven't read anything by her in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, it was a really good book. And it was kind of like older ladies in the book. So I kind of like that aspect of it. Everybody's not 25. So that was great. So it's like the premise of the story is like 4 friends. They all work for this like wealth management type company in different positions. Like, one's a chef, one's an HR, one's an accountant, and so on. And they all were like laid off, like at the drop of a hat. No one was expecting it or anything. They sold the company to another company, and they kept it so hush hush, no one knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they showed up at work one day and they were given a pink slip.
Terrible.
Uh, the good thing about it is they had a year severance, a really good severance package. So they all like went out for a drink afterwards. And one of the friends had a plan to turn her family, what was it, the family mansion
Mm-hmm.
into an inn. And she invited the other three to come in at different capacities. So the lady in this book, her name's Jasmine, and she's an interior designer slash HR specialist. Very weird combination, right? So she was an interior designer, had a very like well-to-do company, and she wanted to start expanding employees for her interior design. So she went and she wanted to go to another company to get experience in the HR field before she did started doing that for her own company.
Mm-hmm.
And she left her husband at the time to um, be in control of her interior design company. But he turned out to be no good. Like he cheated on her and got somebody else pregnant. And then when they divorced, he tried to take her whole company that she had built before they even got together.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to get her condo that she owned in New York City, that she owned, that she had well before they got
Mm-hmm.
together. He just tried to screw her over and like take everything. But, she managed to like keep the majority of her property and stuff. And he
Mm-hmm.
was, absolutely ticked off. So at this point, she's like 43 and she goes to New Orleans and she's considering being the HR person of the inn and being part owner. And she meets a guy that's a friend of a friend. His name's Cameron. He's an investment banker and he's like 50. So, they get together and it's like sparks fly. And I mean, he's like part of this sorority and they do it, no, fraternity, and they do it up big. They have like this yacht party going on that is all formal wear and they have a chef and all of that. It was just very posh,
I love fancy.
very fancy. And so, very, very big pause there. Sorry. So, yeah, they get together and she ends up getting pregnant. Talk about shocker getting knocked up at 43 years old. And this is her very first baby, and his too. So they're both like shocked. So, she really wasn't thinking about getting to like a romantic relationship, serious relationship, but after the baby, that was kind of the incentive for the beginning of their like romance. It was a
Okay, I'm gonna
very
need
good
you to send me this.
story.
You know what this reminds me? Every time I leave and come back to Brenda Jackson. Like
Yes, she is of
love,
that
I got
era.
so many of the Westmoreland series on Harlequin Desire. And then I'll see one just popped up the other day. She got a new book out, and I was like, ooh, I might have to go back to
Rochelle,
Brenda.
she is like right there contemporary of Brenda Jackson. And her series back in the day was the Cole series. And it was a good 14 book series about this billionaire who like of coffee that left all of his family like millions of dollars. And it was a great series.
Yeah, I've seen the name before, but I never read her book. But that sounds interesting. I might have to check it out. I like the premise of it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And then the next book, her friend gets a story, and her friend is an accountant. And the story before this one is the chef's story.
okay.
And then the one before that is like the owner of the inn story. And it all takes place in New Orleans.
Oh,
And
this
it's
sounds like
like
a good time.
it just like makes you want to go to the city and like eat and party in New Orleans. It was great.
I like the idea of a yacht party too.
Yes.
I like the idea of a yacht party. I'm ready for it.
Oh Lord, and you're gonna during the yacht party. So one of his brothers, the frat brother and the wife, they're swingers. So the wife like propositions her, and she's like, "Wait a minute, did she just proposition me?" It was hilarious. He was like, "I'm so sorry, I forgot to warn you."
I love it. All right, so my last book is another leftover from my December book haul list called A Shifter for Christmas by T.S. Joyce. I really liked this book. It was sweet and wholesome. So the way this book kicked off, so this guy, his parents died in an accident, and he is a lion shifter, and they left him and his brother each a property, but they had told him to sell, so that, sell the property so that they could have funds, because the parents had property and not, a lot of cash. So the brother sold his, which was the family cabin, right away, but he didn't sell the house and has been struggling to pay the tax bill every year. So it's time for the tax bill again, and he's trying to figure out ways to pay this tax bill. And his brother is there, and his brother was like, some lady at the newspaper posted an ad looking for a shifter for Christmas, and that she would pay $2,000 or something. And she wanted a shifter because none of her sisters has anybody better than a shifter. Like, they have like a lawyer and a businessman, but nobody has a shifter. So she also wanted a non-predator shifter, right? So he lies and says he's an otter shifter. Or was it a badger? Badger. I think it was otter. And so he meets her. He thinks she's going to be some crazy lady, but she wasn't. So her family is very wealthy, extremely wealthy, but she didn't want the family money. And she was also a little bit eccentric. So she had her art studio where she teaches kids art and pottery. And then she lives on the property in a tiny home. So super artistic and all of that jazz. Like, that's her zhuzh. She only needs enough money to, live a good life, but she's not about the latest fashions or the latest hairdo. And she has curly hair and she doesn't care. And, her family, so her hair is wild and that kind of stuff. But so, they start feeling each other or whatever. And it gets, a little too close for comfort. And so basically she's like, my family's always like, I ruin their plans because I'm single, or this or that, or she's just like the wallflower or whatever. So he, when he met up with her, he was like, well, I'm going to work, and if you want to talk to me more, you got to come with. So she goes with in pajamas. He's like, are you going to go get dressed? She's like, she throws on a light sweater over her pajamas and goes to work with him. Dude's a lumberjack. Okay. Like, he's outside. So she's for reason. Come to find out, while she was in his office, they were like eating lunch or something. Her dad shows up. Come to find out, her dad owns the company. So then he turns around and was like, and you were up for promotion. And because you're messing with my daughter, you're no longer in the runnings for promotion. And dude is like, first of all, I didn't know I was up for promotion. So why would I date your daughter to get this promotion? And second, I have the highest position at this company. So where would you be promoting me to? Like, I don't care. Basically. So
you got two of them together.
It was hilarious. I really loved this book. Obviously, and the crazy thing is like, as soon as they showed for Christmas. Was it Christmas dinner? No, it was like dinner a couple days before Christmas. And, he was running late. So they were like, oh, is your boyfriend alive? Whatever. But it wasn't. And so he shows up, and immediately him and one of his and one of her brother-in-laws are like going off to get drinks and stuff. He's like, yeah, kind of find out her brother-in-laws is always mad cool. And it was the wife's, which were her sisters, her two sisters that were, the jerks, mainly because of the way the mother raised them, and they followed the mother, who was very, all about appearances and whatnot. And she was just not that girl. She never was. So, she had a great time at the party. And, later on, the father was like, I've never seen my daughter so happy at one of our events as when she was with you. She was laughing and smiling, and she wasn't like standing in the corner looking miserable like she normally is. And it was mainly because, she felt like an outsider and stuff. So
right.
Anyway, Great story. Don't want to spoil it too much. Loved it. And this was a different kind of shifter tale, because in this story, when you're with a predator, they have to turn you because you can get hurt, and if you're with a non-predator shifter, you can stay human. So that was an interesting little world building for this particular tale. So I'm actually gonna read the next story in the line, which is a shifter for New Year's. So it's already on my Kindle, so I'm looking forward to reading that one as well. So I'm interested to see if it's his brother's story or not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what was your last book, Kitty?
My last book is The Champ by Jordan Silver. Love Jordan Silver. So this book is Wyatt Hunter. He is a UFC champ MMA type fighter. And then there's Tracy Starr. She's the lady in the book, and she is a law student. Well, like he is, he's up for a fight in like a couple of weeks. And him and his friends, they're like out at a bar one night, and he sees this girl like dancing on the floor, like shaking her butt, and he's like mesmerized, and he's like, she's got to be mine. So he gets her to come over. Yeah, he gets her to come over to the table. Like she's this really shy girl who's just like, letting loose on the dance floor for once. And out of the blue, like comes this nutcase guy that's trying to, grab him off of her lap. And, he like knocks the dude out. And, come to find out, she has this stalker. Like she went out to coffee with this guy once, and now like he just won't leave her alone. Like, she thinks he's watching her while she sleeps. He's following her everywhere. Like she gets a restraining order, but he's really crazy. So it doesn't like help. Mm-hmm. And so, he's like a UFC champ. So, he takes her home. Like, okay, they meet one day, and the next day he's taking her and her 5 girlfriends home to his mother for Thanksgiving dinner. Home to their compound. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's like a couple of mansions together because the family assumes once all the kids marry, they're going to move back home. So they each have like a section, a wing in this house with his own like living quarters. And so she's like shocked when he sees it. And it's a really good book. It moves like pretty fast in their relationship. It's kind of like a love at first sight type story.
Or at least lust. Lust is also good at first sight.
And then like, the dude, like he's still like super crazy, and he's like trying to get to her. Like they get this picture of her sleeping in her bed, so they have to search for the cameras that the guy has like planted in her bedroom. And
how'd he get into her apartment?
He like wired it one day while she was at school or something.
But how'd he get in?
She's not his first rodeo. Like he has like the girl's a redhead, and he has like a fetish for like redheads. Like he eventually tries to kidnap her. Like he wanted to put her in like a little box and keep her there and take her out of it when he wanted to play with her. Like I said, he was nuts. So of course they get him. I don't want to like spoil the end of it, but it's not a very long read. It's a decent sized read, but that's like the gist of it without giving it all away.
Sounds real interesting to me. I'm here for it. Here for it.
So Wyatt is definitely a protector.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Definitely like, subscribe, leave comments. Let us know what you read in January. We're more than happy to learn about new authors, new books that we might have not known of before. So stay blessed, stay warm, enjoy February, the month of love, even if you don't, sometimes curling up with a good book boyfriend and a glass of champagne or some chocolate covered strawberries is life. Nice warm blanket. That's what we need.
Right. Oh, and if you've rediscovered an author that you used to love but kind of fell off, but have discovered them again, let us know who it is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, you guys have a good one.
See ya.